Hello everybody, welcome to Paragade After Hours, a podcast where we talk about nerdy shit, video game shit, and there's this, I don't want to surprise you or anything, but there's this undercurrent of just homoeroticism that seems to permeate throughout each and every podcast, in which, it might seem like me and one or two of the co-hosts might be attracted to people of the same sex. Or same gender. Or typically what I'm saying is that I like bears. Anyway. This week, I'm joined by...
Hello, I'm Mael from Mael Ecology. What up?
So this week, it's you and me. And we're going to be, I kind of feel like we've had a good kind of topics going where it's just like talking about shit that we like. And I feel like that's been good. So we're going to kind of keep up with that trend right now.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of times we like to talk about, things that are the topics of the week kind of thing, but I feel like we could also just abandon that for a podcast and, for an episode, just talk about the things we like.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, go back in time and talk about games from the past that we wholeheartedly love.
Ah, yes. But anyway, before we get to that, though, we are going back to beer this week.
Yeah.
So, I found this little darling called Spectre India Pale Ale from Fulton. It's got basically a picture of a vibrant pink Day of the Dead skull.
It's not vibrant pink. I would say that the color is millennial pink.
Ah, so rose gold.
That pastel rose gold color. Yeah, and there's like a little thing of hops in there. I mean, it's real intricate, wavy looking skull, and this IPA tastes very IPA. It's very good, very bitter.
It's very much a staple IPA. It's just like, it's got like just that nice hint of bitterness.
Hint would imply that it's barely there.
Yeah, you're right. It's very bitter, but
it's very bitter, and it's not a citrus hops.
No.
It's a little bit more of a dark hop flavor to it,
which I like. I like that. It's it's kind of like chocolatey.
Yeah. It does have a little bit of that chocolate note to it.
Yeah, I've seen so many people like complain about like the IPA craze, and just a lot of people be like, "Why do people like IPAs?" And I'm just over here like, "Grow a palate."
Well, I get a lot of people don't like IPAs because they don't like bitter things.
Yeah.
But I drink my coffee black.
True.
Without sugar, without milk. I drink it black like my soul. So I like that kind of bitterness. And so when people don't understand why I don't like IPA, but are totally on board with me drinking black coffee, I'm just like, you literally did not understand why I like these things.
Yeah.
I like bitter things.
You like bitter things. Which, by the way, you said why I don't like IPA.
Oh, why? Sorry. I definitely love IPA and I definitely love coffee, and those two things have very similar flavors. They are not sweet. They are cruel and harsh, like the world around me.
Exactly, and much like anything else, I love to shove things in my body that are cruel and harsh.
Yes.
Yes. Anyway.
Like McDonald's chicken nuggets. Joe.
Yes.
What is a game from your past that you would like to recommend to our podcast listeners?
Ah, yes. So that is going to be basically the topic for this week, is we're going to go ahead and wax nostalgically as we talk about some of our favorite games from years past. And one of my favorite games is, still to this day, a game series called Sam & Max. So, for those not familiar with Sam & Max, it was a point-and-click adventure game and also a comic series and a very short-lived TV cartoon created by Steve Purcell. He was creator of these characters. And the point-and-click adventure game came from, well, LucasArts, back in their heyday doing adventure games. And it started off with, like, Sam and Max hit the road, where they take, like, a road trip across the USA.
Yeah.
And they stop by Stuckey's, and they go ahead and, like, find Bigfoot. And
Yeah, it's so cute.
It's so cute. It's so great. And basically, Sam is a 6-foot-tall detective dog.
Yeah.
Who loves to eat food. And then you have Max, who is a 3-foot-tall Lagomorph. Not a rabbit, a Lagomorph. With very sharp teeth.
Yeah, I did notice that he always had
a very toothy grin.
Teeth.
Yeah.
Teeth, and lots of them.
He like, imagine the Monty Python rabbit, but given full appendages.
That's scary.
So, but I didn't really grow up with the LucasArts game. I played, like, a hint of it when Dad had that and the biker game. I forget what the fuck it's called. But the one I really sunk my teeth into was, like, the 2006 revival by Telltale Games before they paid off with The Walking Dead, with Sam and Max save the world.
Yeah.
So it was an episodic game series, and it was one of the first, like, kind of game series to really, really be episodic. Like, I know nowadays that's kind of, like, you know, a norm model sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially within Telltale Games, but Telltale Games kind of hit it home with this one.
Yeah, well, and this is kind of at the time when that was new.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think, you know, there's a lot of point-and-click adventures, like King's Quest and whatnot, that existed before it. But, you know, a King's Quest game was one singular game within a series that were at least, you know, loosely connected by an overarching story, but not directly after one another.
Right.
Whereas this was the first of that point-and-clicker kind where you were kind of following directly after, you know?
Yeah, and, like, each, like, up until, like, sort of penultimate episodes, because I think it was, like, 5 or 6 episodes in a season, it was very episodic in that, like, each case that they took on was just basically, like, you know, a case.
Yeah.
One of which was episode 4 in the first season, where Max becomes president.
Okay.
So there's an emergency election, and you're running up against the animated statue of Abraham Lincoln.
Wow.
Yeah. And he is, like, you know, 20 feet tall, and here's Max with his platform of, I wish to bite everything.
That sounds about right.
And you get to make the decisions about what he says, like, during, like, the debate process, which was fantastic. And then you win in a landslide.
Oh, good.
And then Abraham Lincoln, 20-foot tall Abraham Lincoln, is so upset with, like, the idea of democracy that he goes on a rampage in Washington, D.C.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes. So then you have to stop Abraham Lincoln with a highly coordinated nuke attack.
This is
a game that exists. This was, like, this explains so much of, like, my humor, because this game was just, like, it hit every beat with me.
It does. Well, and considering, you know, we were discussing last night your love for non sequitur humor.
Yeah.
In, you know, like the Eric Andre show or, you know, Pop Team Epic.
Yeah.
This is the same kind of, that was so non sequitur. That entire description of this game is so non sequitur.
So, it turns out, though, that this entire time, behind the scenes, all these weird cases that have been happening have been orchestrated by a guy named Roy G. Biv.
Okay.
And you also see this guy who's kind of running, like, a cult throughout each episode. I forget his name. It's, like, Bliss something. But he's got all white hair. He's got, like, a ponytail. He's got, like, a rainbow tie and everything. And it turns out he's an alien who has been, like, collectively, like, brainwashing the entire world. And in the final episode, you go to his moon base to stop him.
But question, is he a gay alien?
No.
No, okay.
No, he's just weird.
He's just weird.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, like I like this this was still during the time where it's just like, it was kind of like, it's kind of okay to make gay jokes, but it's like, they didn't go there. They
didn't go there, yeah.
No, they're like, that's punching below the belt. We're not going to do that. I'm like, no.
For an alien, would it be below the belt?
I don't know.
Or, like, where is the alien genitalia? That's really the important question.
I feel like they answered this question in the game itself.
I'm sure they did. Well, that's why we should go play it.
Oh, God, that is exactly why you should go play it. To figure out what is going on with the alien biology.
Yeah. I want to know, where should I punch an alien?
So, the reason why I like this game a lot, obviously, is the humor.
Yeah.
And also, like, while it has, like, a lot of that, sort of adventure game logic where it's like, rub this against the wall, like, it kind of establishes certain rules about, like, this universe where it's just kind of like, this is a non sequitur universe. Like, this is a place where shit doesn't make sense.
So sometimes you just have to rub the brick against, 5 different surfaces until you find which one works.
Well, I feel like sometimes it's kind of obvious.
Okay.
Because, like, a lot of characters do talk, like, and they give you hints and stuff. And also, I forgot to mention my other favorite part of this game, Roscoe, who runs a convenience store. And he's also a conspiracy theorist. So throughout the entirety of the game, like, he's where you get, like, your MacGuffin of the episode.
Oh, good.
So you have to trade with him something. And also, like, you can interact on each item, and they give, like, a funny description of each item. Like, like, nachos.
Not nachos.
Yeah, nachos cheese.
Oh.
It's so great. And, like, then in the second season, it starts off where you have to kill Santa Claus.
Okay.
Because he got possessed by a demon. And then it turns out that the overarching plot of season 2 is that Satan has been constructing this thing the entire time. And Sam and Max die and go to hell.
That sounds about right.
And it turns out hell is an office.
That also sounds about right.
Yep. So, and then finally the third season, which is kind of where Sam and Max just left off. I've been holding out hope, like, maybe someday they'll come back. Maybe my 2 favorite animal cops will come back. Actually, they're freelance police, is what they are.
They're not quite officers.
So, with the last season, season 3, you basically battle Cthulhu.
Okay.
Yeah, so it goes into many different places, and all the time, I would say, like, the humor still kind of stands up.
Yeah.
It's still very, like, cartoony, and I like that, and also non sequitur.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a point at where you talk to a bunch of Moai heads.
All right.
Yep.
I like it.
So, point is, I highly, highly recommend this game. I'm pretty sure you can find it on just about everything nowadays, even iOS. So you can find it on your phone and just be like, I'm going to go ahead and play, like, Sam and Max Save the World right now. Or I'm going to play The Devil's Playhouse. So, overall, this was back at a time where I feel like Telltale Games was less focused on making, like, super gritty fucking comic book games all the time. And just willing to have a little bit of fun. And I really, really miss that. I really miss that about that company in particular.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, I could always go back and play it. Like, they made Mac versions. I could always download it on my Mac.
I mean, you got a Mac and a PC and a phone and a tablet.
I do.
I'm sure you could play it on any device.
I'm pretty sure. I'm going to do, like, after this podcast is over, I'm going to log into my old Telltale account and just download, like, that and Strong Bad's Cool Game for Attractive People.
Do it.
Yeah. So, anyway, Em, why don't you tell me about one of your old favorite games?
So, when I was a wee bab, my family and I would go on road trips all the time. And so a staple of our road trip adventures were the Game Boys and the Game Boy Advances. Now, when the Game Boy Advance SP came out, my mom straight up bought 3 of them so that my brothers and I could finally stop fighting over each other about who got to have the Game Boy Advance and play it.
So no more 3-man enter, 1-man leave.
Yes. We
You
decided...
got rid of the Thunderdome rules.
Yeah, we got rid of the Thunderdome rules because it would always be the case of, my 2 brothers and I we had like a Game Boy Pocket, a regular Game Boy, and a Game Boy Advance, and, I'd want to play the Game Boy Advance, but, Will also wants to play the Game Boy Advance, but Ben also wants to play Game Boy Advance. We would fight and bicker and whatnot, and so, so before we had the SPs, I would try to get to play on the Game Boy Advance, and usually not get a chance, because my brothers would take it first.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't get to play with it until, 2 hours later.
Right.
Like, it'd be like, can I play it in 30 minutes? No, I just picked it up. So anyway, I would usually have to resort to one of the Game Boy Color. And on the Game Boy Color, we had a lot of games, but there was one game that was solely mine.
Solely yours.
It wasn't one that I had to delete my brother's save files on, which I did numerous times. I'm so sorry, guys. I was an asshole of a child.
Listen, they're the ones who were just, like, shoved their faces in dirt. They're like, it's my Game Boy Advance time now.
Yeah, and so I'm like, I'm just gonna delete save datas. I don't care whose this is. Yeah, I deleted a lot of Will's save datas, especially on Pokemon.
Oh my God.
I know that I was that kind of dick of a little kid. But yeah, so there was one game that I did not have to do that on. There was one game that belonged to me, and that was Hamtaro Ham Ham Unite.
Ah.
And listen, I know what you're thinking. Fucking Hamtaro game.
It's a good game.
Well, yeah, it is a good game, but I know what the viewers, the listeners are thinking of fucking Hamtaro game.
Are you sure? Because, our viewers are usually pretty okay with the shit we talk about.
I don't know. Listen, I know that it seems really weird that I'd be recommending a tie-in game based on an anime that was made for real little kids, but it is, 1, a fantastic show, and 2, a fantastic game. So, it's kind of just like a little easy little RPG.
It's a little fun time.
It's a little fun times. So the reason why it is such a good game is actually because it was produced by Satoru Iwata and directed by Shigeru Miyamoto.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I knew it was produced by, Iwata, but it was directed by... No shit!
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Alright.
Shigeru Miyamoto, actually... Both of these men, these giants of Nintendo, creators, actually put their hands on and help make Ham Ham Unite. That's actually why it is such a well constructed game. So the premise is that you play as Hamtaro.
Yeah.
And you and Boss wants you to get all of the Ham Hams together back to the clubhouse. And so as Hamtaro, you just kind of wander around the different worlds and talk with other hamsters and get them to come back to the clubhouse. And so it's just like it's all about solving puzzles, kind of like Sam & Max's. It's
right.
not point and click adventure because it's on the Game Boy.
Game Boy, yeah.
But you use little ham chats, which are like saying hello, sniffing something, digging. You use these little commands to navigate and through the world and solve puzzles. And it's so darling and cute. And there's a lot of times in this game and the other Hamtaro games where a puzzle can really stump you, even as an adult.
Right.
I would say that they are definitely a lot easier of games, but they're still very fun and enjoyable, and the puzzles are really fun and enjoyable. And I know that a lot of gamers out there are really, they really want something hard and difficult all the time, every day. But I kind of like when you get to sit down and just play an easy puzzle game.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy having games like that, especially games on the go where, you don't really feel like you have to play this all in one go.
Like, you don't necessarily feel like it's like climbing a mountain,
Yeah.
Where it's like, obviously, like, those games have its place.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly fine to have those games. But it's not necessarily, like, I would think, necessity, and, like, especially, like, Hamtaro.
Yeah.
Or, like, games like Kirby, or, so on and so on, where it can be satisfying. Like, the fact that, Miyamoto had his hands on it, kind of just shows that, like, hey, no, I'm gonna make a really simple game that is fun regardless of who you are.
Yeah.
And that's really special, and I think, so, kind of, I guess more of a question for you then, is, like, do you feel like, we've kind of lost that in today's gaming, like, landscape, or do you feel like maybe we've got an abundance of it? Where do you think that kind of gameplay design has landed?
So I feel that Nintendo has always had that core of make games fun first.
Right.
And so if you're thinking about as far as, Hamtaro games are, in essence, fun and pretty easy. I would say medium difficulty near the end of the games, but relatively easy gameplay. And I think that most people would agree that you can find those kinds of games in the Nintendo lists, but outside of Nintendo's sphere, you're right. It's a lot harder to find easy games that are meant to just be fun.
Right. Like, sometimes the games feel patronizing, or just, like, not too easy, but just, like, it's easy, but it's like kind of mocking you in a way.
Yeah, or if it's an easy game, it was specifically designed for kids.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of mobile games.
Right.
Are literally just made for 5-year-olds, and that's fine. Like, there is a place for those, and that's on the mobile market for parents to download for their kids.
Right.
But, a lot of, like, say, like, the PS4 and the Xbox, where they are geared towards more adult gamers.
Right.
Adult gamers typically are shown to want that kind of difficulty.
Right.
And so they aren't looking for easy, relaxing games. They're looking for hard challenges. Now, I would say that depends on, like, your level of puzzle capabilities.
Right.
But, like, I guess the only other thing I could think about maybe would be, like, I don't know, like,
like,
I'm trying to think of any other, like, puzzle games that are easier.
So, because I feel like it's on the tip of my tongue. Like, there has been, like, certain games like that. Like, certain games that have come out on mobile. Just because, like, obviously, I feel like that's kind of where a lot of these games have migrated to.
Yeah.
Like, granted, this isn't really geared towards children, but, like, the Go series from, Square Enix, like, Tomb Raider Go, or Hitman Go, or even Monument Valley.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is that, that's the thing, is I like Monument Valley for that. But I was trying to think of games that were specifically on Xbox or PS4 that are that same level. Now, I could say, depending on your proficiency in puzzles, the Sons of Tale of Two Brothers, or Brothers of Tale of Two Sons, that game was relatively easy for me.
Yeah.
But,
It could be difficult for others.
And it's kind of hard to gauge that. But yeah, outside of Nintendo, I haven't really seen games like this that are willing to be this kind of middle ground between the baby games and the adult games, so to speak.
Another one that I think could kind of fit into that weird sort of spectrum, and it's so sad that we haven't really seen, like, another game kind of come to take over this, is Katamari. Like,
yeah.
Like, Katamari, like, it's not hard in any means.
Yeah, no, but it does pose just enough of a challenge.
Yeah.
And certain levels of the game are more challenging than others. But it is much more of this relaxing, easy, fun times. You're playing Katamari because of the aesthetic of it too. Yeah, and so that's why I think that in general this might be an itch to scratch for a lot of people, because I feel like it's an itch to scratch for me to find these much more relaxing games. I don't tend to play the Dark Souls style games, because at the end of the day, I'm a tired individual who's got a lot to do.
You're a tired man.
I am a tired man. And so I like to play...
You like to play little, like...
I'm not a casual gamer. I still play a lot of other games, but, like, a lot of times I want to dive into the casual. But, like, games like Hamtaro and Katamari, give you a little bit of, like, this middle ground. And so if you're like me and have that itch to scratch, I really recommend Ham Ham Unite or, the Ham Ham Art Break or any of the Hamtaro games, just because they just scratch that little itch, They just scratch that little itch, and it shows, like, there was some dedication and time to actually make these games well designed. Oh, yeah.
As opposed to, like I said, as opposed to being the sort of patronizing games, and as opposed to being, like, super baby. It's like, it's like, it's baby, but adults can have fun with it, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, goodness, like, that is...
Yeah.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around, like, Miyamoto just, like, sitting behind the desk, just, like, burning the candle at both ends while he's making Mario, and he's just like, fucking Ham Unite!
Yeah, no,
Get this prototype off my desk!
Yeah, no, it's definitely a really well-designed game, and you can tell, that it wasn't just a half-assed job by Shigeru Miyamoto or Shigeru Iwata. Neither of those men really half-assed anything.
Oh, yeah.
So, Joe, what about a second game for you?
So, I will get to my second game in just a moment. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break, because that is going to be a new policy I'm just going to establish here, so we can go ahead and collect our thoughts, go pee, get a refill, whatever. And we will be back in a second for you guys, but for us, it'll be about 5 or 10 minutes, so we'll be right back.
And we're back.
Rocket Man, burning his fuse out here alone. I'm talking about Starbound today. So anyway, Starbound, another one of my other favorite games. It's not that old. It's not that old compared to, like, Sam & Max, which is, like, 2006.
Yeah.
Which at this point is almost 12 years old by this point. Which, oh god, that just dawned on me. 12 years old. Whew, okay. Anyway, impending mortality aside. So Starbound, I bought way back when it was still back in, like, way early access. Got it on Steam. It was like, it was sitting there. And I knew the bare minimum of it. I just knew it was Terraria, but in space! And I was like, okay, no, that sounds cool. Like, I like crafting games. I like space. When I first played it, there was nothing going on in this fucking game. And I was just kind of like, well, I mean, it's early access, so, I'm gonna wait. I waited about a month, and then young Joe, this was like 2012 Joe, this was still in community college Joe, just be like, this game fucking sucks, I don't care about this anymore. So I just left it. And then, go to UCF, back to 2014, and one of my friends, Sky, was just like, hey yo, have you played Starbound? I'm like, yeah, I got it back when it was early access, I didn't really like it. And she's like, well, it's been updated. I'm like, wait, what? She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh shit, alright, I guess I'll go pick it back up. And so I did. And what I gotta say about that is, one, you can play as a robot. I'm really happy that they give you a fucking robot race.
Mm-hmm.
And two, you get a rainbow cape and hood. So, the moment I found out that that was a thing that you could get, I shat my pants. I was like, no, 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 I need this. This is mine. I need this. I need the Star Sword, and I need the Rainbow Cape. So, basically, playing that, and a lot of my favorite memories from playing this game, because I have about 90 or so hours logged into that game, was playing with Sky, like, while we were, like, playing on Discord and whatever. And there was one night, we played until, like, 2 a.m., like, one night, and we... Because you can input star coordinates. So, me, being the mature adult that I am...
Oh, I remember this story.
Put in 6969. And I was like, I'm going to go here.
69.
So, we went to 6969, and we found, like, this... I'm assuming, because this was still before it became 1.0. Like, this had to have been, like, kind of one of their test planets that we, like, either A, a lot of us were supposed to stumble upon because, come on, dudes, everybody's gonna put 6969 in the star coordinates. Everybody knows that.
You gotta, man.
You gotta. But it was, like, one of the ape planets, and, like, their whole shtick is that they're, like, a sort of, like, Big Brother type government. And it was like, nothing was interactable, you couldn't hit anybody, they were invincible for whatever reason, and, like, their talents were completely indestructible, even though I wanted all their shit, and that had been our modus operandi for most of this game, was go to a planet, we see shit we want, we're like, well, I guess I'm not gonna be friendly here anymore, and just take everything.
Plunder.
So, like, we were the Sea of Thieves before Sea of Thieves was a thing.
Pillage the village.
So that was our shtick. And this one we just couldn't do shit on. And I tried my best. I tried my damnedest. And we just couldn't kill anybody. And I was like, alright. But then once we got out of the towns, we were like, okay, we can go into the earth. Why not farm for minerals? Because we need that for our ships. So we start going into, like, the center of this earth. And then we stumble upon a village. A small village of miniature buildings. And we're like, what the fuck is this? What is this? We're not seeing anything. We're not seeing anybody or whatever. And then I'm just like, I'm gonna start breaking shit. Because, I mean, I'm a destructive human being. So, I do. And then I get pickups. Such as gnomes. And then I had a gnome gun. Which was just a gnome that you hold. That then shoots rainbows. And then there was a ball of gnomes. Which was little tiny people all rolled up into this one big Katamari ball. And I look at Sky in the game, and I'm like, Sky. And she's like, what? I toss it, goes, ah!
Like, it made that noise.
It made that noise, so you just hear, like, little tiny just screams, and just like, ah! So I'm like, wait, what? This exists in this game? And this was, like, the most magical moment for us, where we're both sitting there at, like, 2 a.m. just like, we have to be either really drunk or really delirious or something. This has gotta be a dream. So we kept on, like, finding this shit. We found more balls of gnomes. So, of course, I give her some balls of gnomes. I give myself some balls of gnomes. So we just start throwing gnomes at each other. As we hear their tiny screams. Oh my god. So, like, this game, like, I still go back to it every once in a while. And it's one of those really fun, just, like, creative games. Like, I can't go back to Minecraft. Like, I tried my best. But it's, like, not any of it just kind of appeals to me anymore. But Starbound has the right amount of just, like, zaniness. And the right amount of just, like, crafting shit.
Yeah.
And just sci-fi. Like, because I'm a big sci-fi nerd.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there's something to be said about having those, connections, the stories.
Yeah.
You know, like a story about finding freaking balls of gnomes.
Like, the fact that they put that in the game at all, like, that was just fantastic. And they, like, you know, they didn't make a big deal out of it. Like, I feel like with Minecraft, like, the problem is like, there's no more surprises anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, we know about the Enderman, we know about, like, the Ender Dragon, like, we know about this. But when it came to Starbound, because Starbound is still very much a niche thing.
Yeah.
You know, there's not a whole lot of info floating around about it. So,
well, I'm sure that if you wanted to,
if
you could find it.
Like, if you dig deep. But it's
Yeah.
one of those things where it's not in the public consciousness. And, yeah, like, you know, we look up on the Starbound wiki the next day, and we're like, oh, shit, there really is a Balls of Gnomes, like, item.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, my God. But it was so awesome to have, like, that form of discovery. And the fact that they put in something so entertaining, the fact that they go out of their way to, like, you know, put it in just, like, kind of this little pocket of the universe under 6969.
Yeah.
And this is where you find the gnomes. Like,
69.
so we tried going back there once they made it 1.0, and 6969 doesn't exist anymore.
Oh.
It's just blank space there. So you have to go, like, 68, 69, but it's like, nah, it's not the same. 69, 69, though.
Is where it was at.
Ah, that was where it was at. So that game still holds, like, a very special place in my heart, and every once in a while I'll go back to it. The last time I went back to it, I had to restart my save, because, 1.0. And then I made the Velvet Room in my ship.
Yeah, you did.
From fucking Twin Peaks.
Didn't you also have a whole bunch of penguins or something?
I did. I downloaded the mod where you can have, like, a penguin crew.
Yeah.
So you have, like, this machine that basically dispenses penguins. So I just kept on pressing it. And it's like... and now my ship is just full of penguins. And every once in a while, they'll just run up to me and be like, hey. I'm like, what? Feed me. Okay, here's food. Okay, thanks. And they run off.
That's amazing.
They're wonderful.
They're like tiny porks.
They're so cute. I fucking love the penguins. And then I downloaded a mod where you can play as a penguin.
Good.
So I'm just like, yes, me. I am the penguin. I am King DDD. Finally.
Yay.
Yay. So there is a lot I could say about this game and the wonderful modding community behind it, because that is also like a big part of it. Is like the fact that they've added like so many more mods and stuff. Like, granted, when me and Sky were playing it, we were playing it very vanilla.
Yeah.
And that was still a lot of fun. And I am, of course, of the mind where it's like, they bought it to Xbone, they bought it to PS4, it's on PC, it's on Mac. Bring it to the Switch already. Just do it. Just do it. It's like...
There's no reason not to.
There really isn't. It's like, I understand Sam and Max, because Telltale is just made of idiots now. But, like, with Chucklefish, you guys are smart! You're bringing Wargroove to this. You brought Stardew Valley to this. Just bring Starbound, please. It's like, they already brought fucking Minecraft to the Switch. Just bring the good Minecraft, the Star Minecraft, please.
Star Minecraft.
Oh my God. So I love that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you brought up Stardew Valley.
Yes.
And speaking of, my next game is not Stardew Valley. When Stardew Valley was presented to me, it was the, oh, look at this, it's an indie Harvest Moon game, except it has fighting. And I'm pretty sure my exact words were, oh, so it's Rune Factory. So there is a series that is called Rune Factory. They are a Fantasy Harvest Moon series.
Yeah.
So it is made by the same developers, and the original was Rune Factory : a Fantasy Harvest Moon, and that was what it was presented as. So this is an anime-esque RPG farming simulator.
Yes.
So in Rune Factory, in all of the Rune Factory games, you start off as a nameless protagonist who falls unconscious somewhere and develops amnesia when they meet someone and they're presented with farmland and say, hey, farm this land. And you're just like, okay. And so, like...
I don't remember anything.
I don't remember anything. Well, you know how to use a hoe, right? I guess.
I mean, which hoe are we talking about? Because I'm fairly certain that my life beforehand, I'm not entirely sure about, and it could have been morally ambiguous.
Well...
Anyway.
So in this game, they pretty much start you off the same way every single time. But you usually then get to explore the world, meet people, run a farm, and fight baddies.
Right.
So the game that I'm specifically going to recommend is Rune Factory 2. I love all of the DS games that came out. I've never gotten a chance to play any of the other Rune Factory games. There is one for the PlayStation 3 and one for the Wii, I believe. Or Wii U, I believe. I've never gotten to play either of those. But the Rune Factory 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all fantastic games. And I'm specifically going to recommend 2, just because I think it has the most interesting plot of all of them. So the plot starts pretty bare bones in that aspect.
I'm amnesiac. Okay, here's farmland.
Yeah.
What's a farm? You'll get it eventually.
Yeah. You are Kyle, and you are presented with... Yeah, the character's name is Kyle, but you can change his name to whatever you please. But anyway, Kyle gets introduced to this village of very interesting people and beautiful ladies. And, you fight monsters, and there's this underlying lore of dragons and political intrigue of, the Sek Empire and, is controlling everything. And, there's these small little hints and pieces here and there of some overarching story. And meanwhile, you're just, farming a land and participating in harvest festivals and, festivals where you have the best animal. Look at my sheep. My sheep is the best sheep. Give me money.
My sheep is the cutest sheep. Excuse you.
Yeah, the woolies. They're very cute boys. So, but then you get married to the girl of your choosing, which there are many cute girls in this game. And, you have a child, so you can choose a boy or a girl child. And this is a very standard Harvest Moon plot. Just with the added bonus of it being anime fantasy. But then, one day, your character walks off in the middle of a storm and never comes back. Yeah, so...
Did my dad die? Did he die? Oh, he died.
So it cuts to, several years later, and you now play as your character's child. Whether you got to play as Aaron the boy or Arya the girl, you can change their names as well, obviously. But you suddenly play as the child, and the townspeople have grown up. A lot of the other people in the village have gotten married as well and also had kids. And so you are an elementary school full of, these kids, and your dad is missing, and you're dealing a lot with, your mother's, kind of...
Depression?
Internal mental anguish, because most of the women in the game, whoever you marry originally, almost all of them have the same feelings when the main protagonist walks out in the middle of the night. Is I hope that they're still alive somewhere. I don't know what's going on, and I'm still very heartbroken over this thing because it was just so sudden. And so then also the difficulty curve goes through the fucking roof as far as the monsters go.
Alright.
So suddenly everything is impossible. You're also having to battle, not only are you battling, monsters, but also you're having to deal with going to school as well. So that's funny. So there's a lot of interesting things going on in this story. And I don't want to reveal much after that, but yeah, it's actually a really, really fun game. The mechanics of farming are pretty much the same as Harvest Moon, though there are some extra added elements because it is more fantasy-like.
Yeah.
There are much more Japanese style foods, kind of thing. It is slightly different.
Ah, yes, ramen.
Well, yeah, you do get to make like udon and stuff like that. But as far as like you're like you can harvest like daikon radishes instead of like typical like American vegetables,
like hamburgers and pizza. I'm sorry, but I just thought that was Natsume and who translated the game, and part of me is just like, aren't they the same people who also handle Phoenix, right?
Yeah, well, I wish that they would do a better job translating. I will say that translation is terror bad, and in almost all of the games, English voice acting is also extremely terrible. But the games themselves are really fun. So like I said, the farming aspects are pretty standard. But if you're like me, who is a farm gay, that really does scratch an itch. If you like Harvest Moon games, if you like Stardew Valley, you will enjoy that aspect. And then there's this added bonus of this very Japanese anime RPG, fighting style going on, where you go into dungeons, you pick up treasures, and you fight monsters. You can also befriend those monsters and stuff like that. And
does it become Pokemon?
No.
Oh.
But yeah, basically, it's so much fun. It's so enjoyable. And I specifically recommending Rune Factory 2, but the most current one, Rune Factory 4, is on the 3DS, and that is also a fantastic game where you can choose to play as, male or female. And the added bonus is that once you kind of complete the game, you can also unlock some special little secret things, like changing your character's avatar. So you can change the avatar from male to female or female to male. And then you can basically engage in homosexual relations, because
finally,
this is the one game where you can kind of cheat the system, because this game, like most Harvest Moon games, you have to marry the person of an opposite sex, but in Rune Factory 4, you can change your avatar, so you can be a female character, but then immediately change your character to male, and then from there, you can be, male married to another male person. So it's fun.
That's fun.
It's fun. That's exactly what I do for Rune Factory 4. But the games are really fun, and I mean honestly the marriage preferences where you have to be in 1, 2, and 3 you are a guy who romances ladies. Yeah. But in Rune Factory 4 you get to choose.
Okay.
But otherwise, that little nitpick aside, they're just really fun games, and I totally recommend them. As far as if you want to get into, if Stardew Valley was great for you, and you were like, man, I really like this, I wish there was more of this, there is. Go play Rune Factory games.
That's really good, because I mean, especially for a lot of people, I feel like with the Stardew Valley game ported to the Switch, it's like a lot of people are coming back to the series, a lot of people are starting the series for the first time, and yeah, they might be like, well, is there more like this? And of course, the standard answer would be like Harvest Moon. Yeah. But Harvest Moon, it's always been kind of like a hit or miss kind of series, because it's you can stumble upon a really good Harvest Moon game, or you can stumble upon a really bad one. Yeah. Well,
and there's very small differences between what makes a good one and what makes a bad one. Harvest Moon Mystic Melody is pretty slow and pretty boring. But then, Harvest Moon Animal Parade is also pretty slow. but also it's pretty interesting. Like they just like, and you got some Harvest Moon games that are much faster paced, but lack this or lack that.
Right.
Whereas I feel like with Rune Factory games are kind of like Stardew Valley in that they play faster.
And they're kind of consistent because, like, kind of know what you're expecting. Whereas I feel like with a lot of Harvest Moon games, you kind of don't.
You kind of don't know what it's going to be when you open up the lid of the box. Like, are you going to get a fast-paced Harvest Moon, or are you going to get something that's slow and just draws out, and every single 24-hour cycle feels like it takes 3 hours to accomplish? Or can you knock out a day in 30 minutes, kind of like you do in Stardew Valley?
Yeah. So I guess one of my questions would be, because, obviously, when Stardew Valley came out, no one was expecting that game to blow up the way it did. Like, it blew up overnight, and people still fucking buy it, that it's still in the top list of Switch games that are being bought. Do you wonder if, like, maybe the success of Stardew Valley and kind of its game design is going to influence, like, the creators of Rune Factory or the creators of Harvest Moon, like, going forward?
Probably Harvest Moon. Unfortunately, as for Rune Factory, I think that a lot of other Rune Factory fans would agree, but, I think it might be over for that series.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so, at one point, Xseed was, developing and translating the games, but Xseed is like no more. And we haven't seen anything
about like a Harvest Moon, or not Rune Factory 5 or anything like that.
Yeah, no, since Rune Factory 4 came out, it's been quiet. Marvelous Entertainment, kind of shot the bed on that one. A lot of it might be because of the fact that it was so niche.
Yeah.
There weren't many people buying it. And also with a lot of the cases, the translations of the games took so long to come out because it took so long for someone to be interested in translating them, and then they never put any money into marketing it.
Yeah.
So most people don't know of this game, and then the sales of the Rune Factory translations were so poor. I mean, one, we have to see enough sales for them to want to do a Rune Factory 5.
Right, yeah.
But then we also have to see enough sales for them to want to do a Rune Factory 5 translation. So it's gone dark as far as that goes.
I guess to kind of lighten that up then, just because, like, Stardew Valley had a very similar, game design to Rune Factory, in that it blended, like, a little bit of these RPG, like, light RPG mechanics, because, a lot of people can play the entirety of Stardew Valley and never engage with the dungeon crawling mechanics.
Yeah.
Like, it's very optional. I guess with the advent of Stardew Valley, do you kind of see, like, maybe a couple of other developers wanting to tackle this genre? Like, maybe being like, I could do that, but better. Like, it's kind of like the same thing with, like, the Battle Royale mechanic, where it's like, fucking Fortnite was like, I could do PUBG better.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing is that there's this really, really fine line between what is a Harvest Moon-esque game and what is a Farmville-esque game.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of developers know that, and
it's very hard to, like, walk that line.
Yeah, or they fall straight into Farmville territory, and nobody wants to speak to them ever again.
Yeah, and, like, Stardew Valley really did just kind of, like, it really was kind of a flash in the pan. Like, I'm not saying about the developer himself.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the developer himself is probably going to make something fantastic, like, down the line.
Yeah.
Like, I really can't wait to see what he does after Stardew
Well, they're
Valley.
actually, they're working on a game called Spellbound, which is an upcoming wizard game. So it's a wizard simulator that is like a Harvest Moon Harry Potter game.
I kind of dig that.
Yeah.
Oh, I kind of dig that idea a lot. Ah, shit. Ah, shit, dude.
So, yeah.
Alright.
But at the end of the day, we may never get another Rune Factory game. But the Rune Factory games that Marvelous has given us are fantastic, beautiful, beautiful games. And they are worth playing.
Oh, God, yeah. So, since you mentioned Marvelous, we do have one bit of news that's kind of a little bit late, but I feel like that we can at least just shoehorn into this. This is kind of unplanned just because you mentioned Marvelous. So they're developing Travis Strikes Back.
Yes.
No More Heroes.
Yes.
So we finally got gameplay footage of that. So I think I showed you a little bit of it.
You did.
What did you think, Em?
So I think that it is... Well, one thing I was listening to other people talk about it, and I don't think that they actually understood what the trailer was about, because they were just like, "Whoa, it's really interesting." It's kind of like they've got like different game series that they're. Then I'm just like, yeah. So
yeah,
it's Travis going into different game series, basically. And the person that he is going after is like the boss of the level kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so it's real interesting looking, and the perspective of the game is not a third person. It's like a top down, but more like a 45-degree angle down. Right. And the way that I related it to you is it's kind of like you're looking down at that
arcade screen.
Yeah, that arcade screen. The arcade screen that's on that tilt, and so you're like leaned over it. And it really gives you, I think, that feel like looking at the trailer, like you're looking at something that's retro in a way, without being retro aesthetic at all.
Exactly.
You know, and so I just really like the feel of the game as it has been presented to us so far. So
there was a 10-minute gameplay demonstration where like they demonstrated like the co-op gameplay of Travis and Badman, which, by the way, Badman, God, I fucking love that name. And they like it looked a lot like Ruiner or Hotline Miami, which, granted, it's like in the first fucking trailer you had like, you know, Hydrogen by Moon from fucking Hotline Miami pumping throughout, and it's like, oh, I see where Suda 51's inspiration is coming from. And it looks like it plays a lot like that. It plays a lot like, you know, that sort of beat 'em up, and that sort of basically arcade beat 'em up. And it really was interesting for me to see, like, you know, the fact that the controls seemed very simple. And, like, Suda really coming through on his word about being like, you know, hey, I want to make a game that you can play on just one Joy-Con. And he's like, well, duh, the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to be a co-op game.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. And I like that that's kind of his design, like, sort of modus operandi going forward. And it really does show, like, in what I've seen so far in the gameplay. The other thing is that I love his love for indie games, because Travis has apparently a bunch of t-shirts designed after indie games.
Good.
So the t-shirt in this trailer was Hyper Light Drifter.
Yes.
So that really made my fucking day. Of just like, oh my god, like Suda 51 giving them shout outs to like all his favorite games. He's like, here's Hotline Miami, here's Hyper Light Drifter. It's like, guess what? Shovel Knight's gonna be next. It's like, if I don't get to see a fucking Shovel Knight t-shirt, I'm gonna be so pissed. I'm just gonna be like, either A, someone at Yacht Club Games pissed Suda 51 off, or Suda 51 is just a dick.
You know, I'm just also imagining that, you know, he for like, you know, he's got to be having been developed this for like 3 years now or so. So, you know, he's developing all these t-shirts. He's got, you know, Hyper Light Drifter. He did the Fez or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, he did all these different indie game shirts, and he was making the texture last year for Ukulele. It was going to be the greatest indie t-shirt that he was going to have for Travis Touchdown, and then he actually played Ukulele. He's like, and delete that file, just drag that into the recycling bin over there, and I'm just gonna move on with my life. How about a Shovel Knight shirt?
How about a Shovel... No, he had to develop the Shovel Knight shirt first, because I feel like that is like the poster indie child right now.
Fine, how about a Celeste shirt? Stardew Valley shirt. How about that?
That's exactly what happened. He's just like, I don't have enough time to dedicate to Stardew Valley. I heard it's good. I know people are saying it's good, and it's gotta be good, right? And then it's like, he plays ukulele. He's like, that was a fucking shitty game. Alright, fine, Stardew Valley.
Yep.
Like that. Oh my god. Imagine Travis's, like, fucking, like, confession about being, like, a big Stardew Valley addict.
Yeah.
He's just like, listen, I just, pop open my RV, I sit there right by the campfire, pull up my Switch, and I'm just like, man, it's time to farm some, it's time to farm some lands.
Time to farm some slimes.
God, dude. Games.
Games.
We love games.
Games.
We do.
Yep.
So anyway, that has been Paragade After Hours this week. M.
Yeah?
My dear sweet M.
Yeah.
My lovely fiance.
Yes.
Where can people find you on the internet?
So eventually, I keep on saying this, and I'm just gonna keep on saying this until it is true, that you can find me at Myelacology on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube when I finally start doing those. Yeah.
And then, of course, for me, you can find me on, Paragade. I write semi-regularly, basically whenever it strikes my fancy. And, of course, with Paragade After Hours, I post this every week. And you can also find me at Just Joe Stars on Twitch, where I stream at least once a week. More often than not, it's more than that. And then at Just Joe Let's Play on Twitter, where I go ahead and post my schedules, as well as go ahead and post episodes like Paragade After Hours and stuff. So, with that being said, thank you all so much for listening. It does mean the world to me that there are people out there who take to heart our conversations and just kind of think, what we talk about. And it's really cool that I see people sharing this little by little, and that's great. The other thing is that you may have noticed I had changed the intro and outro songs. After 10 episodes, and having tried to get in contact with Triath to get permission to use their songs, it turns out I think they don't speak English, or I just got filtered to the spam folder, which is the more likely thing. But anyway, this new song that I'm going to be using is Pants by Here Come the Mummies. And they're a lovely band. I highly recommend listening to the part with the vocals, because God, it's good. It's so good. And thank you, Chris and Tasha, for showing me this band. And now I have funk on my iPhone all the time, always. And with that, again, thank you so much for listening. And as always remember, tip your waiters 50%. Goodbye.